Let's go now to our friend Bimnet Abibi from Galaxy Trading. As always, my friend Bimnet, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
What's going on this week?
Well, I think the most important thing to happen this week is the breakdown that you've had in long end U.S. fixed income. That's been driven by a combination of really robust data out of the U.S. in addition to additional supply above and beyond what the market had expected being announced by the Treasury.
So this is them selling new issuance of bonds to refill their coffers after the debt ceiling stuff?
This is regular course of business. Like the debt ceiling is a weird thing.
Yeah.
But every quarter the Treasury tells you how much of each particular issue they're going to issue. So they'll be like, oh, this month we're going to sell $40 billion of 10s.
Mm-hmm.
Next month we'll sell 45. And so the Treasury produced those figures today, and they were a little bit higher than expected in the U.S., particularly for the longer duration profile securities. And we were coming off of really strong data. Like ADP today printed like around 340,000 jobs gained.
Wow.
Month on month versus expectations of like 192. You had PCE data come out late last week that showed that we're still in inflation. Like there wasn't anything that tells you that we can cool down.
Okay.
And durable good orders were really strong. And then you've got, the employment data that's coming out this Friday. And there was one bit of data that was a little contrary to this price action. It's known as the Senior Loan Officer Survey, SLOOS. It's basically a survey that's used to gauge credit conditions.
Yeah.
So it asks a bunch of bank lending managers and folks that are in charge of that process, like what's going on with credit. And basically, they're like, credit's contracting. And that was one of the things that Powell highlighted in his speech is that, we are seeing pass-through of high interest rates into credit markets.
Which they want, right? That tightening helps. That's monetary tightening.
That's how you transmit monetary policy into the real economy.
Yep.
Right? And so you are seeing that tightening. Now, like with stocks still close to the dead highs in a historically tight labor market, though, like just because you are seeing credit contraction, the question is, will that translate into a decline in core inflation?
Yeah.
And right now, it's still tough to say.
I just saw a headline that was like Americans are just still happily spending a lot of money.
Tons of money. Yeah. Absolutely. And it's like, one, the social transfers that happened during COVID, I mean, they're still expansive. But the big part is, and it's a new point that, I just came across from, hedge fund newsletter, but it's really hard for companies to fire people when their stock is at all-time highs, right, or close to it.
It's hard
right?
to say.
So
we have
when
to
the
tighten
NASDAQ,
the belt.
we have to tighten the belt. Wait, you're tightening the belt and your stock's up 40% on the year? How does that translate?
Right.
And so, I really think the crux of the inflation issue comes down to the tightness in the U.S. labor market. Mm-hmm. And that tightness isn't, I don't know how that's going to change. We're getting tighter and tighter.
Yeah.
And we had job opening data this week. We still have 9.6 million job openings in the U.S.
And how many people
that
looking
is
for jobs?
Roughly, there are 1.7 jobs per person looking.
Wow.
Right?
So the pricing power is still in the hands of the employees at this point.
So that's why you have to pay real close attention to average hourly earnings.
Yeah.
Right? And then unit labor costs. And last week we had the employment cost index that I believe was in line around 4%. But wages are keeping up is the point. And then the other part is just home prices are fine because there's no supply of housing. Why is there no supply of houses? Everybody has less than 3% mortgage.
They're locked in.
So it's just becoming so tough to break that
cementing,
inflation.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And so
at least it's not too bad what it's cementing at right now. It's not where they want it.
Inflation, it's getting better, but
what do we have year over year? CPI in June was 3%, right?
But that's a headline,
right?
The core
what was that?
Is higher. I think the core is, correct me if I'm wrong, around 4, low 4s.
That's not great.
That's 2% target.
So
you're 200 basis points away.
And when do the student loan forgiveness
October.
roll off? So that's a
October
big
is
catalyst,
when they start.
Right?
Yeah,
and you expect should that have a positive impact on
Well,
inflation?
the average student loan payment in the U.S. is around $550
A month?
a month.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what portion of that is like federal versus private, but there's a lot of money that needs to get paid as a function of these student loans. And that starts in October. So that should be a
That
drag.
takes some out of
But
it.
at the end of the day, it's like if people have jobs
Right.
and they have credit cards and they can't buy homes anymore.
What else are they going to buy?
Yeah. What else are they going to buy?
Stocks,
Stocks,
consumer goods,
consumer
electronics.
goods. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so, that's what I mean. Durable goods has shown like remarkable strength. Like
crazy.
it's like I can't buy a home. Like,
So
so
I can
what
buy
am I
stuff.
gonna buy?
Might
Yeah,
as well buy
stuff.
furniture, literally.
Yeah,
Buy a new couch. I just bought a new couch. It's great, by the way.
amazing.
Let's talk about the crypto markets a
Woo!
little bit.
Let's
So-
get going.
So there's been here's one thing that happened earlier this week, right? There was this motion to dismiss ruling in the Terraform Labs
Absolutely. Yep.
SEC litigation, and the market was interested in this because in the motion to dismiss, again, just another of the SEC cases, the judge specifically made a point to specifically reject the analysis put forth by the other judge in the Ripple ruling 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so what was the reaction in markets generally to this?
I would say that it was fairly muted.
That's what I thought too.
And because
It seemed like
you
a
know,
relatively big story.
a relatively big story. Ultimately, where I thought you'd see the greatest impact was on Ripple because in the original ruling it moved a lot,
Right.
right? And so, but you really haven't seen follow through on the Ripple side because technically they still did win their case.
Well, yeah,
it's just the precedent
these-
around the
yeah,
security stuff.
That's right. These two cases don't affect each other directly.
Correct.
But it's more just
But-
like, well, we thought we had a positive ruling and
Yeah.
question on how we test stuff.
Yeah.
And now we literally have the exact same federal district court, the Southern District of New York, just with a different ruling that's the opposite of it. So now we're just back to like square one of like no clarity.
No clarity.
Yeah.
And fundamentally, that should be bad for alts, right? But you already had the moves.
We're already down from
We're already
over
down-
30K, and we're already
Yeah.
down from 1900 ETH. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that wasn't constructive. And I think your point about judicial precedent and the lack of precedent that Ripple ruling now has is very meaningful.
Yeah.
But I'd say the biggest piece of crypto news out there came from Michael Saylor, who recently announced by his company that he's going to be purchasing another $750 million of Bitcoin potentially. And so
This guy is going to own all the Bitcoin. What does he have? 150,000 Bitcoin or something?
got
it's
a
up
lot.
there.
It's
He's one
probably
of the
closer
biggest.
to 200 now,
Yeah, I mean, it's
or something like that.
Definitely
But
one of the
yeah,
biggest stacks
Yeah,
of coin.
he's buying a lot.
And
but
look,
but
in
that
his
was
credit, right,
perceived.
he's kind of back too, like at
Yeah.
break even or whatever. His cost basis,
He's right around there. Yeah, it's like around 29,500.
It's
Yeah,
pretty
something like
wild
that.
strategy.
It is, and I respect it, and I wish I had courage. Maybe a
To
fraction
buy
of
in
that courage.
size.
It
Yeah.
takes a lot of
Yeah.
courage to
Yeah, it
do
does.
what he's doing.
You don't think markets are reacting on the Litecoin halving?
Sorry, no, no. I think it's relevant, but just in the big picture, right? We just had an exploit of Curve, right?
Yeah.
And the spillover has yet to be fully finalized. But I think the fact that you've seen huge reductions in TVL
some coin
on-
prices,
yeah.
DeFi prices.
DeFi prices collapsing. I mean, I think that's notable.
That is notable.
And it I think it's notable in the sense of like market confidence in DeFi and some of these DeFi tokens.
Yeah.
And so I'm still waiting on kind of seeing the follow through from that. I would think that part of the value of ETH or the value proposition of ETH is a very robust and secure DeFi system. And that argument definitely took a little bit of a hit this week.
Yeah.
And so I'm not as constructive on the ETH and ETH DeFi complex as I was a week ago.
At the moment, yeah. That was
And
that
so-
was a big deal. That story.
That's a big deal, and fundamentally, like the idea of security and stableness, is crucial
Yeah.
to products
That can't be the reason why this stuff isn't working. It should that's very that
Mhm.
puts a real dent in the armor, right? And like
No,
it really hurts
absolutely.
confidence when these types of exploits happen. That's Curve 2, right? Is the most important stablecoin money market, basically.
In the world.
Yeah.
And I think that money market model is one that we should have dropped in, traditional money markets.
If it doesn't get hacked.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. I mean, like, why couldn't we have a euro yen, stable coin pool on there?
Right.
Everybody trading 24/7.
Really,
Like, I would love to.
there's genuine innovation there.
No, there's genuine. Seriously.
Yeah.
And like yield bearing stables, if that ever came about.
Yeah.
Like, and you'd put them like on chain and trade. Like, there's so much potential there.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's a little deflating.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. And so, I think the trades are pretty easy. I mean, you have a guy that's about to buy $750 million of Bitcoin, and you have, DeFi,
Moving around here.
moving around here, and it's not looking great. So, personally, I like Bitcoin higher and ETH not to go higher.
All right, you heard it here. BIMNet Abibi from Galaxy Trading. As always, my friend, great to have you.
Thank you.